Well, as I had mentioned, this has been a comedy of errors. The camera needed to, when it came back to me, the camera was had lost all of its customized settings that I had done, that I had put into the camera. It had defaulted back to some factory settings, so that had to be worked out. That was not too much of a problem, not as big of a problem as I thought it might be. Then, unbeknownst to me, I had some problems with the audio recorder. And as a result, this is like take 15 of me talking to you about this hike. What I'm going to do is to let you know, I had a couple of things planned today. Jake and I, primarily, we were going to go over to Sebring, which is not too far from here, pick up some Starbucks coffee for me because I'm about out. And then we were going to go for our hike, since things seemed to be just about in the same neighborhood. On my way to Starbucks, however, lo and behold, I mean, the route that the GPS had taken me through went through the national forest. The forest, I think it's called Highlands Hammock State Park, not a national forest, but a state park. And on the way through it, I crossed over this one-lane bridge. It was a beautiful area, and there was a couple of fishermen, maybe three fishermen, and a couple of other people kind of mulling around that had been hiking, I guess. And I thought, what's going on? So as I was crossing this little one-lane bridge very slowly, old wooden bridge, I looked to the right and to the left, and I could see that the scenery was just stunning. We were in a real cypress swamp. With the cypress, big, huge, mature cypress trees, palmettos, and this slow-moving creek that just, it was something out of a picture postcard. So as I got across the bridge, I pulled the car over, left it running so the air conditioning would be on, and I left Jake in the car as I ran back with my camera to see if I couldn't take some video and to talk to some of the people that were there. And I had a real good time. I was able to get, I think, what I feel thus far anyway, one of the nicest shots I've gotten on this camera. I posted it on Facebook today. Just one of those lucky things, there at the right time. The lighting was phenomenal. And of course I was able to do some videoing, and talking to the couple of fishermen that were there, one said to me, well, I asked him what he was fishing for, because I couldn't imagine in that kind of water what you'd pull out. And he said they were fishing for bream, which meant nothing to me, so I looked it up when I got back to the rig. And I guess it's a relative of the bluegill. And he said, however, he was catching some fish, and then there were, which I didn't see at first, there were 3 alligators on the other side of the bridge, kind of along the side of the creek. And I guess one of the bigger ones had decided to mosey on, swim on up the creek to where they were, and there must have been a school of bream. And he just had himself lunch, which of course scattered everybody. Not only did he eat some fish, but the rest, the guys that didn't get eaten, I guess they head for the hills, or for whatever the equivalent is in fish territory. So anyway, bottom line was, he had swum back. I guess his belly was full. He was fine, and the guys were starting to catch some things. But it was a comic story. And then he said he didn't know whether they were still there. The alligators were still there. So I walked onto the bridge a little further, and then looked to the left. And sure enough, there were 2 of them there, and one of the babies was across the creek, sunning himself on the other side. By baby, he was about 5 feet long, and the other 2 were probably 7 and 9. So they were pretty good-sized gators. And I'm glad I didn't have Jake with me, because he'd have probably wanted to play with them. And I don't know that would have been very successful. But bottom line was, when I got back into the vehicle and was going to do a little recording, I flipped open the camera. I got a battery indicator that my battery was about to fail. And I thought, I'm not about to take this hike, the rest of this hike, with no battery and no recording. So, rookie mistake. I always carry a spare battery, but today I did not, of course. So I thought, well, what I'll do is, this is so close, and tomorrow's supposed to be fairly nice. I'll finish up tomorrow, put it together in processing so that it looks fairly seamless. And I hope you enjoy it. But no, if I'm dressed a little differently tomorrow, it's because it took 2 days to get this thing done for you. Well, Jake and I are here ready to do the Ancient Hammock Trail. It's, according to the park ranger, it's the oldest, one of the oldest trails, or actually it's a trail that goes through the oldest part of the hammock, and I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like it's just going to be a beautiful scene. So I'm going to give you a little panorama and we'll get it started. Well, that's one great big dead tree. Don't see that very often. Part of the hammock is, not only do they have, well, part of the hammock is the broadleaf, which I guess in Florida terms is mostly live oak. I'm looking up, I'm seeing a couple. This isn't live oak, I don't know what this is. And of course there's all kinds of palmettos and palms. And the last time I was in Florida, which was I think a year ago for Thanksgiving, I learned how to tell the difference between a young palm tree and a palmetto. A palmetto, which is more of a shrub bush type thing. So these appear to be mostly palm trees that are growing around in here. So again, just a beautiful park and a real nice trail. This trail is really nice in that the vegetation is so close, the trail is narrow, it's just so typical old-time Florida. I can't believe it, I just think it's great. This puppy is absolutely enormous. I'll see if I can't just follow it on up. Beyond where we can see. To give you an idea how big it is, I'm going to go stand by it. Here I am and I can basically cover, I don't know that that even does it justice, from one end to the other. Huge. Well, we're back at the car, Jake and I, after the Ancient Hammock Trail. It was really, really nice. It was high and it was dry, just like I like the trails. The ranger, when I checked in, when I stopped to get directions and to pay the park entrance fee, he said that the Big Cypress Trail was apparently one of their best. It's a boardwalk kind of trail, and that's not one of my favorites. Although it does allow you to get into some areas where you couldn't go otherwise, it's too swampy. He also said you're more than likely guaranteed to see some gators along that trail. So I'm not going to do that today. It's getting toward late afternoon, time to go home. However, I'm going to come back because this place is just too beautiful. And awfully glad to have the camera back and operational, and I hope to be posting more videos. So I'll be talking with you later, a little earlier next week when I do the Big Cypress Trail. So take care. Until then, I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Thanks for coming.